What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Strength Academy podcast, your 10-minute daily dose of fitness knowledge. My name is Nick Byam, and I am the owner of Strength Academy Gym here in River Falls, Wisconsin. And today, we are going to talk about a question from a member. She is asking about the anabolic window. Will all my gains go away? Will I miss out on my gains if I don't get protein in within an hour after my workout? So we are going to dig into that in just a little bit. Very important question. Now, this is one of my rambling podcasts where I didn't prep anything. This is just a question that a member asked, and so I'm going to give you the answer I gave them. Before we do that, as always, guys, if you want to find the training programs, you want to get the help that our coaches provide, but in an online format, or you just can't, maybe you're in town in River Falls, you just can't make it to our gym because of the timing, you work nights or something like that, then you can find us on Strength Academy Flex. That's our app where we teach everything that we teach in our gym. You just have to do the workout on your own. You don't have me barking down your neck. Also, you can always join our body composition program. We do that in person and online, and that is driven completely at fat loss and how do we reveal all those wonderful muscles that we grew doing our programming. Anyways, let's get right into it. So, Angie T from our gym came up to me. I was recommending to all of our classes for about a month or challenging them, I would say. Can you get 25 grams of protein in within the next 20 minutes? I would say that right before our breakdown at the end of every class. And a lot of people took that very seriously. They went and got their stuff, their 25 grams in. A lot of them went over to our cooler and grabbed stuff. That wasn't the point of it, but it was good to see that they just knew, oh, there's protein right there in our cooler. Let's go grab it. Some people screenshot me and show me, hey, I did it. And one of the reasons we wanted to push that was because timing is very important with protein intake. And I think Angie started thinking about this, and she came to me and she asked, she said, hey, you've been saying get 25 grams of protein in 20 minutes. If I wait longer than that, am I missing out on something? What's the difference? And the 25 grams in 20 minutes was just a challenge to kind of put a restriction and have people really think, okay, how do I get it as fast as possible so that they don't wait an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours before they get food in their system. And what we're trying to maximize with this is the amount of time that we have to recover. So let's kind of dial this back to what happens when we train. When we train, we cause muscular damage, okay? We also drain the body of some of the things that are necessary for us to function properly. Maybe we sweat out a bunch of our electrolytes. Maybe we, like we said, we tore down some of our contractile structures, which we need to rebuild. Maybe we exhausted our creatine stores. Maybe we exhausted our glycogen stores, which is the carbohydrate fuel that gets stored in our muscle. And all these things are important for us to recover and refuel on. How fast is the real question here. If you're training daily, you have a 24-hour clock, 23-hour clock. As soon as your workout ends, you have 23 hours until your next workout begins. I really like the phrase, it's common, your pre-workout nutrition starts the moment your last workout ends. And I found that to be very true, and even truer as I've gotten older. I'm 37 years old. I'm rounding the corner on 40 right now. And the one thing that we cannot ignore is how much time it takes to recover when you are 50 years old versus 22 years old. It is not the same. That is the one thing that I think that's what everybody was trying to tell me when I was younger, when they said, you just wait until you get older. It's not as easy. That's the one big thing I've noticed. I've still been able to maintain my body. My body is largely just as ripped and maybe even bigger than it was when I was 25. And that's just been diligence in the gym. It's just I just train a lot. It's what I do. But the recovery time has changed drastically, I would say. So as soon as you're done with a workout, you have done all this damage and you have depleted a lot of fuel stores, and you need to replenish that, and you only have 23 hours to do so. So every moment matters. Not only as somebody who is not 22 years old, does it take you longer to recover, but also 23 hours is just not a lot of time to recover in. And probably the most important factor here is the amino acids that are contained within protein, because that's where most of your soreness, your actual heavy soreness comes from, is not because you depleted your fuel stores, but because you caused damage to the muscles, to the actual contractile units that you now need to heal. And so what happens in your body is once you have trained, especially trained intensely, trained heavily, done strength training, resistance training, is your body will increase its potential rate of protein synthesis. And so we would just want to think of this as it increases the rate at which it can heal the muscles. So that's a natural body thing to do, right? It makes sense. It's hey, you just damaged me. I am now going to activate all the things that want to heal me. Now, can you give me the substituents necessary, and that's our job. Our body says, okay, I'm ready to heal. You just beat me up. I'm ready to do my job. I'm ready to heal up. Just like, if you get a cut on your leg, your body wants to clot it right away. Like, whether you can keep yourself from picking it is a completely different thing. Our body wants to heal. Can we give it protein in a short period of time? And so that's where this concept of the anabolic window, which is what this concept is called, the anabolic window comes from, is somebody out there said, man, if you don't get protein in within the first hour after you work out, you're missing out on gains. Is that true? No, for sure it's not true. You may grow just as much muscle getting your protein in 2 hours after you work out. However, I would argue that the experience and your performance may not be the same. So like I said, 23 hours that we have to recover. If I get protein in the first hour, then I can take advantage. That recovery process already starts. Now, if I get 25 grams of protein in that first hour, and then overall my total daily protein comes to like 50 grams, which is too little for anybody, then that's just a dumb game to play. Like, no amount of getting your first 25 grams in fast is going to help you recover. You still need the total amount necessary for you to fully recover. However, if you were to wait 3 or 4 hours before you eat after a workout, your soreness is likely going to be increased the next day. And with increased soreness comes a decrease in performance. And with a decrease in performance, you're not putting as much of a stimulus on the muscle in that next workout, and then your growth is inhibited. And so there is a cascade effect that comes with this. And this is also anecdotal. This isn't just like in theory. I notice very much that if I get protein in right after my workout, my recovery is better for the next day. I still got to hit my totals, but my recovery is better for the next day. However, if I wait 3 or 4 hours and then I get my protein in, God, am I just way more sore? And part of that is because I'm approaching 40, my recovery is slower, and I only had 23 hours, and then I cut that down to 20. And my body is not a miracle worker. I either need to give it more time or I need to start giving it protein earlier. But the reason I think that this anabolic window concept is not necessarily useful for most people is because it's all focused on protein too. And if you're somebody who has been lifting for a long time, especially if you're interested in like physique or bodybuilding or any type of performance in general, you also know that carbohydrates are massively important for your body. And you have to rebuild those fuel stores so you can have an optimal workout the next day. So you could get 50 grams of protein in within 1 hour after your workout, and then be on a low carb diet or just like don't eat enough carbohydrates between now and your next workout, and you will likely suffer in your performance of your next workout because you don't have all your fuel stores inside your muscle, which are the most bioavailable during a workout to your muscles so they can continue to contract. Those are not there, and your performance is going to decrease. And we know that if your performance decreases, then likely the stimulus is not as great on the muscle, and your overall growth over time will decrease. And so these things are not acute effects, but they're habitual effects. So you want protein, you want carbohydrates. I highly recommend for most people 25 grams of protein, at least 20 grams of carbohydrates. We also like that because if you've ever had that shaky feeling after a workout, that usually comes from low blood glucose. And so if you can get some type of sugary substance, even a Gatorade, not a Gatorade Zero, but a regular Gatorade in your system right away after you're done working out, you usually decrease that shakiness and also that foggy feeling that can come into your brain from like some heavier endurance work. Like, that'll go away as well. So it's not just protein, but this anabolic window is very much real. But they make it sound like it's like you got 1 hour, and then after that hour, your body like has shut off the protein synthesis process or something like that. In reality, your body upticks protein synthesis for 24 to 48 hours after you work out. And that's something really nice to know, because like that's just another like benefit of strength training, is that if I work out on a Monday, my body is turned up, for lack of a better, turned up. My body is turned up on its ability to produce new muscle and to produce new proteins for 2 days. And so that very much shows that it's like, if I did just train 3 times a week, I am probably maximizing my recovery time, and I'm still upticking protein synthesis, so I'm in a really good state of being able to increase muscle mass over time. So the long and the short of this, because we're going to keep this under 10 minutes, is that as you age, you require more time to recover. So that makes this anabolic window more important. You should get protein in as soon as you can after your workout, because you want to give it the substituents necessary to actually heal. okay? You could give your body a total week to heal, and if you don't have enough protein in your system, you might still be sore after a week. It's actually something that concerns me when people come in and they say, man, I'm still sore after 4 days. I'm like, your protein intake has got to be really low in order for you to be sore 4 days later. The other thing that Angie had asked me that is worth mentioning here is she said, well, I like to take my protein shake before I work out. Is that a problem? Well, no. If you took a protein shake like 30 minutes before your workout, the amino acids are probably getting digested and bioavailable in your system after your workout. So that might even be a better time to take it. So you don't have to take it within that 1 hour afterwards. You could even take it before your workout, and your body's just going to experience the same thing. It's like, oh, I broke it down. Now it's actually hitting my muscles right as protein synthesis is increased because of the stimulus of the workout. So now I can utilize that. I can build more muscle. So like I said, long and short of this, there's an anabolic window, but it's much longer than you think. Your body has increased amount of protein synthesis for 24 to 48 hours. However, if you only have 23 hours until your next workout, you got to heal the damage from that workout. And so every hour counts, especially as you age, because you recover slower as you age. If you get in protein within your first hour after your workout, you give yourself a better chance to be fully recovered the next day than you do if you wait 3 to 4 hours. So if you want to save yourself some soreness, you want to save yourself a world of hurt, and you just want to make sure that you're crossing the T's and dotting the I's on your recovery, which is eventually going to cross the T's and dot the I's on your total overall muscle mass and your enjoyment of your gym journey, then I highly recommend you get at least 25 grams of protein and 20 grams of carbohydrates in within 1 hour after training.